If you don't exist online, you don't exist. It's 2025. Social media is one of the most important things for people and for their businesses. If you are an influencer, this episode is for you. And if you're not, you have to learn the impact of influencer media nowadays. In this episode, we're going to be discussing everything that the influencer need to know about their business and the problems that they might face and how to protect themselves. If you're an influencer, you have to watch this episode. And if you're not, you should watch it to understand what's going on. Our guest for today is an influencer himself, but as well, he's a lawyer. He's the most famous influencer lawyer in the UAE at the moment. My friend, my guest, Ahmed Odeh. He is the managing partner of MIO. He is a public figure and an influencer. And I just learned today that he is going to start another vertical on his social media journey. Good morning, and thank you very much, Ahmed, for coming.
Good morning, Ahmed. Thank you so much for having me today. I started becoming more active on Instagram, posting a lot more sort of life experience content, wisdom, things that you should or should not be doing in business.
Yes, I noticed your personal Instagram page is all.
Do you know what it is? I no longer want to be pigeonholed as a lawyer. I think this sort of change of clothing is like sort of my rebellious attitude. Like, okay,
I love the colors.
Thank you.
I have to say,
I'm thinking, you know what, man, I'm not done being a lawyer. I love being a lawyer. I think it's the value that I bring to society and to clients as a lawyer is phenomenal. But I don't want to be identified as one by people. I don't want people to be like, oh, Ahmed the lawyer, right? No, we're human beings at the end of the day.
That's how
we do,
60% of the people who know me identify us as lawyers.
Exactly.
Lawyer,
yeah.
That's how they save our numbers on the phone.
And I think after 20 years or so, I think the novelty of being a lawyer has started to fade at the moment. And look, it's nice. And the industry gives back a lot as well. You have a great community, but I think there's much more to explore out there. And if I have the passion for it, I'll do it. And I do have the passion for relationship dynamics. But I think lawyers are more relationship focused than anybody else because we get involved in every aspect of a client's life. Like we kind of understand emotional triggers and everything. So we're actually more equipped to talk about relationships than even psychologists. So let's see how it works.
That's actually very true. I mean, sometimes I realize that I have to understand very well psychology so I can manage the emotions, my personal emotions as well, because sometimes I get too involved with the client or in the case. But I also have to understand the emotions of my client so I can advise them correctly, because sometimes they come to me and say, I don't care about money. I don't care about reputation. I just want to file a case and I want to take them all the way. And it hurt. It hurt financially and it hurt emotionally, and getting stressed with the litigation is a tough call. And sometimes they just jump into it for no reason. So I need to understand the emotional part as well to be able to manage my work.
So that's what's new with me. I've changed up my style and sort of a bit. And I hope this new Instagram page is going to be something sort of useful for everybody.
That's really cool.
It's a bit of law and a bit of social dynamics.
You focus now on Instagram than TikTok, or you're still working on both?
I'm doing both.
Okay.
TikTok is simply legal education.
All right.
And it's for the masses. It's typically labor law, rental disputes, maybe a bit of divorce and marriage, but that's pretty much it.
That's most of it.
Right. Because most people on TikTok are not business owners. They don't have sort of like these sort of big business struggles that people on Instagram might have. So on Instagram, I focus on a lot more business related content. Is that what you noticed?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's every platform has a different audience and a different kind of attention. I'm active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And on Instagram, I have two accounts, like Monday Legal podcast, and I have my personal one. And the attention and the type of questions, because very often I post both. I mean, someone is posting on Monday Legal social media team, but on my personal account, I post myself. And the questions and the attention and the dynamics are completely different here and there. On LinkedIn is completely different, and it's different questions and different interactions in general.
So you've been doing this now for over a year, right? It's been
Yes.
And do you feel like you're an influencer?
Oh, that's a big question. Yes and no. Yes, for young lawyers, because these are the most who actually chase me with questions and messages, and some of them find my number online or get my email and they ask for advices, and the advices are very personal to them and to their career and to what to do and how to address this and that. And even with Emirates Legal Network, a lot of the young members, they come to me for advice from time to time. And in this regard, I feel like I do influence a few people. Also, my colleagues who are lawyers from Emirates Legal Network, who I work with them on managing the community, I imagine that my strategy of managing the community and so on influence their decisions a few times. Very small, very niche community, but niche. I do have a little bit of influence. But on the bigger scale, when you say influencer to the public, I don't think so. My impact is not that big. For the legal community, I think I do have a small influence. Yes.
Well, that's probably better because the legal community is more appreciative of the content that you create.
Yes, right? That's what I noticed. Yeah. Absolutely, yes.
Myself included. When I
Thank you so much.
Watch your podcast episodes, I learn a lot, even as a lawyer.
Habibi, we all learn from you with all your knowledge that you're showering us with. I want to ask you specifically on that. You are an influencer, not like me. I'm very focused on a niche audience, which are the legal community. You influence the public because you post content that is interesting for a lot of people. How did it change your life being an influencer before and after?
There's a lot of recognition. A lot of people recognize me when I sort of go anywhere, which is very nice to have. It's good to sort of build that sort of brand that you're helping people. I love it when people come to me and in silence, they come to me and saying, hey, you really helped me. I've taken some of the advice that you shared online and it really changed my life around, whatever it is, with my employer, with my lifestyle, whatever it is. And that makes me really happy that, I actually was able to change people's thinking and, make them improve their lives somewhat. Business-wise, not so much. I think in this country, people still like to receive a lot of value, but they don't give back, which is okay. I mean, this is the name of the game here. You've realized that. They just like to take. It's okay. But aside from the recognition, my life hasn't changed so much. The business community, of course, there's a bit of an understanding that, yes, I'm putting content out there. But aside from that, being an influencer is good here. It helps. It helps at least, opening doors. You don't have to sell yourself as much.
Yeah.
Because you put a lot of content there. The problem with that, though, is that, like I said earlier, you're pigeonholed. Now you're a lawyer that gives content, education about legal. If you deviate from that, or if I want to deviate from that and talk about something else, like living life, giving even life advice or relationship advice, a lot of people might not like it, and they'll drop off the page. So I might need to, like what I said, separate my identity in that regard, which is okay.
Do you have influencer clients?
Yes, I do.
Some of them come back to you with the sort of problems that happen with influencers, that is specifically face them, right?
Yeah. So influences know influences, right? Yes. Especially if you're in a particular space. So if you're in the lifestyle, then you know a lot of people in lifestyle, right? And so on. And you'll notice that a lot of influencers in lifestyle, they kind of meet and do collabs together. For me, yeah, I do have some of these influencers come to me because they've seen me online as well. And they have issues. Yeah, they have a lot of issues and difficulties with, doing collaborations with brands and companies.
So you have clients who are influencers, and often they have problems when they deal with brands or with marketing agency companies who are doing business with them. What sort of main problem that face the influencers from a legal perspective?
So before we talk about the legalities of it, I actually want to sort of focus on what an influencer is in Dubai and what do they actually do. What I realize is in Dubai, a lot of people self-proclaim as influencers just because you're going out and you're taking videos of restaurants and bars and you're giving your opinion on it and stuff. It doesn't necessarily make you an influencer, right? Or if you have a certain amount of following, or if you even bought your followers, or if you just a beautiful girl, right? And you're sort of putting on nice clothes and stuff, and that's it. It's not exactly clear cut that if you are an influencer or not. And brands, depending on the type of company that is looking for the profile of the influencer, they might not appreciate you as the kind of target influencer that they're looking to promote their brand, product or service with. And with that comes a lot of vagueness when it comes to interactions. But typically, when you are an influencer, you need to have something called a rate card. I have a rate card. If a company wants to reach out to me to promote a brand, I send them my rate card. I tell them this is exactly how much I charge per post, per story, whatever. And the brand then the company comes back to me and they were like, okay, all right, we agree to these terms, and they'll send a contract over. The legalities come where brands are typically unclear with their deliverables, exactly what it is that they want from you and how they're going to pay you. So let's say they'll pay you only on completion and only on a sale of a certain number of items, or if the video reaches a certain amount of viewerships. The problem with that is that companies have no obligations to share with the influencer any analytics of the performance of the video that takes place on the company's profile. Fair enough. It's their page. They own it. So you, as the influencer, you can't do that unless it's on your page. And what happens then is that they start playing this sort of push and pull game. Oh, we're going to withhold the fees from you because the post didn't perform as well, or you weren't wearing the type of makeup, or the lighting wasn't good, the camera quality. They can come up with any reason. And it depends on the relationship that the company has with the influencer. If they have a tight bond, or is the marketer in the company just looking at it as a transaction and nothing else? They don't care about the relationship that they have with the influencer, not like they're going to get involved in a sort of a long-term engagement. And I see that a lot. In the US and the UK, I find that the same influencers, especially on YouTube, will be promoting the same brands. Like you're looking at BetterHelp, for example, or a VPN company. You'll see that the same video, the same brand is being promoted over and over again with multiple videos. And that associates the brand with the influencer. In UAE, it's not like that. It's only usually a one-time thing, 3 stories, a couple of posts, and that's that.
That's what they call a collaboration for a specific, a specific project. So they buy, few minutes or few posts or few stories and so on, and they pay them by the job, for example.
Yeah,
right.
They're not exclusive brand ambassadors in that sense.
Right. I mean, is there usual contracts? I think any relationship, as a lawyer myself, I think any transactional relationship between two parties should have a contract.
Yes. And the contract needs to be reviewed not by the influencer, by somebody else. It doesn't have to be a lawyer. Of course, I can't imagine that every influencer has their own lawyer, but if the contract is large enough, it's a good idea. But at the very minimum, the influencer should have their own agency or manager to review the terms and conditions, because you don't want to add any emotional element to the contract. As the person who's going to execute and operate the terms and conditions, you have to be sort of removed from the contract a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this shows how important is a written document when we talk about the appreciation, because before we get into whatever is the deal to collaborate together, me putting down 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the things that I'm expecting from you. These are the KPIs based on this job. That's how you pay me, and that's when you pay me, and that's how much you pay me. And that's it. It doesn't have to be a contract of 10 pages. It can be a simple document, one pager, that regulates the relationship between both of us. Why, since we have so much of collaborations happening and social media becoming so important in our life, why a lot of influencers are lacking behind when it comes to contracts?
I think the biggest point is they're just too scared to let the brand go. They don't want the company to not work with them, so they'll say, you know what, we'll do whatever it is that you want us to do at the rate that you believe is appropriate, just so that we can say that, hey, we started working with so and so brand. And the larger the brand, the more influence or power that they have over the influencer. That's the name of the game. And then one of my influencers said to me that a lot of these big brands, they treat influencers like a cheap date. It means that it's like as if a guy takes a girl out for a coffee just so that he can get a feeler as to whether, you know, she's a good fit for him, right?
That explains the
I don't
the
do
one-off
coffee dates.
Yeah,
exactly.
That explains as well the one-off deals. Like let's do 3 stories and see how that works.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not fair to the influencer, because a lot of work goes into building the influencer's page and for them to actually put the content out there, and the content will be there forever. Right. So it may not perform today, but maybe a month or 6 months down the line.
Yeah, that thing about the appreciation and the KPIs is very important, and I think having a one-pager contract would make sense. And I think maybe we need to also speak to the brands and to whoever is representing these brands to educate them that having a written agreement with the influencer is not basically limiting what you can or you cannot do. It just reduce the friction and the problems that might happen with the influencers in the market.
Definitely. Finding the right influencer is key, and getting into a very clear understanding of the terms and conditions between the company and the influencer, that needs to be there, because if both parties are not getting what they want out of this relationship, it's not going to work long term at all. And even if it works short term, it might leave a bitter taste, aftertaste with either party, and they may say, you know what, we don't want to work with you again. Maybe payments were delayed. Perhaps the video had to be reshot like multiple times, which took a lot of the time from the influencer. It could be a multitude of factors that might not allow the relationship to continue just because the contract was not done properly.
Yeah, there's also one thing. I mean, one of my friends is a food blogger, and she's very well known in the UAE. And she complained a lot about not the brands, not the main client for her. It complains about the middleman, the marketing agency or the PR agency that reach out to her to ask her to do the services for this hotel or this restaurant and so on. And I always ask her, so your relationship is sour with the brand because of the middleman? He says, yes, I'm sure the brand has nothing to do with it. They are okay. That my problem is with the middleman or the middle company, who usually manage the relationship between us, and they get us the business deals as well. They manage the funds, the payments.
Yeah. So the PR agency is looking at this as a numbers game only.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
How much you charge and how much are we going to get out of this? And they're probably working with multiple influencers, and they're pitting them against each other to see who can give the best value.
I think also influencers do the same. They reach out to 10 marketing agencies or PR agencies to work with. The PR agencies are having their pool of clients, another pool of influencers, and I think it takes away the human part of the relationship between a brand and an influencer, because we like it, whether we like it or not. That's the new trend. It's not only actors and sportsmen who are influencers in this market of today. Digital and social media influencers are very important for brands.
If I were an influencer and a PR agency reached out to me, I would not speak to them directly. I will give away a lot of my power by talking to them directly. I will either give it to my manager or my PR agency to talk to them. Because if they have direct access to me, that means they can sway a lot of decisions in their favor. And I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, they will always have the upper hand over you, because they bring you the business, they handle the finances, and they can manipulate kind of the success of the influencer, whether they like the work or they don't like the work, or the KPI is met or not. I heard a few cases where the brand is super happy with the campaign and the work. The influencer is super happy with the collaboration, but the middleman is still creating trouble between them and moving wrong information between the brand and the influencer. And I think this all can be reduced or eliminated by writing agreements and having it clear. What are the KPIs? What are the expectations? And if both are met, how do I get paid? In advance, in sequence, or at the end? When things are clear, I think it eliminates all the problems that might come with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of posts are time sensitive. When a company reaches out to an influencer, they need a post to be done usually within a few days' time, because there's an event coming up and they want that sort of post to hit at the same time. So what every influencer needs is a standard contract ready, along with the rate card. So they'll send the rate card. If the rate card is approved, then the default contract is sent shortly thereafter, so that the sort of time duration for them to agree on the terms is reduced. That's the ideal scenario, I think. What about you?
Well, I think a lot of influencers understand that, but we have even a bigger problem, is that the AI is helping a lot of people drafting contracts right now. So I've seen a couple of contracts for influencers, which is AI generated. Is not bad at all. It's actually good. It's nice, but it has no connection to the UAE. So the contract is drafted in a way that works perfectly in the US, for
in the
example.
Governing Law US.
Exactly. But you will
Jurisdiction
see,
Dallas.
Thank you. Yes. And you'll see a company in Dubai, an influencer who lives in Dubai and choosing jurisdiction of London. It's like, wow, bravo. What is this? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I got it from my friend who lives in UK. And then I realized that this friend who lives in UK is ChatGPT. You know, he doesn't even live in UK, but it's just a complete lie. They just go to the AI, generate the contract, and they feel like looks good and sophisticated enough and nice, and let's sign it.
I don't mind reviewing AI generated contracts, but you have to add a human element to it. Otherwise, it may not suit you.
Yeah, and I think when we review contracts as well, I mean, we draft contracts all the time, and sometimes we bring the litigation team to have a look at the terms of the contract to understand certain clauses that are very important. How would the court react to a clause like this when it comes in front of a judge? And then they tell us, okay, I have this and this court precedent based on previous court hearings in the UAE that prove that this clause, for example, is invalid, whether it's put and signed or not, or this clause is very powerful and it will be looked at in court in this sense. A lot of people do a lot of oversights when they come to contracts, and jurisdiction makes a big difference. If this contract template, you got it from your friend in the US or your friend in Switzerland or your friend in Egypt, it makes a big difference when it comes to litigation. Have you seen a lot of litigation with influencers? Not a lot.
Not many.
Yeah.
Because the ticket sizes of the influencer contracts is not that big.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
So you would not know whether influencers actually got paid or not, because it never reaches to a level where they go to a lawyer and the lawyer has to send a legal notice. A couple of things I'd like to share is that in such agreements between the influencer and the company, what needs to happen is that there has to be a very clear definition of what constitutes a breach of the obligations for each of the parties, because that would then trigger termination, penalty, and so on. If you don't know where the breach lies, then what happens is the company is then going to try to push the envelope as much as they can to get you to work as much as possible, because then they'll say, well, the obligations are a bit open and not very clear, so you have to work, otherwise we're not going to pay you. So the breach provisions are very, very important, I find. And also, if you're an influencer, if I am an influencer and I want to say, all right, this is going to be my full-time job, that's it, I'm not going to do anything else. I'll set up a company, I'll get it VAT registered, and I'll send these contracts with invoices and follow-ups and everything, just like I would a trading company or anything else.
It is a business. It is a complete business. Yes. They have to treat it like that. What I lack, who's the problem here? Are the influencers the problem or the brands? Because the brands, they have their team, they have their lawyers, they have their marketing. They're used to do contracts all the time.
Yeah.
Marketing agencies and PR agencies, the same. They have their setup, they have the finance team, they have the contracts team, they have everything. Are the influencers the problem?
I'll put 70% of the blame on the influencers, because the influencer is the decision maker at the end of the day. So most of the power to decide how the contract will be steered is in their hands. Yes, the marketing team in the company's side is going to say, well, this is the way we run things around here. Take it or leave it. All these sort of negotiation powers that they're going to try to strong arm the influencer. But you have to stay your ground. You have to know exactly what you're worth and how you're going to deal with the companies. If you're going to let each company decide how the relationship is being driven, it's going to drive you mad. If you have 10 companies that you work with and each company has its own way of dealing with you, it's not going to be a sustainable business model being an influencer.
For all the influencers out there, let me give you a tip that helps legally and also has a psychological factor. If you stand your grounds, your value is kept and they anyways are going to work with you. If you are a yes man and everything they tell you, you will just run to them and do what they like, or work at their own at the pace they like to work on, your value deteriorates automatically. I know you want to work with the big brands and this is an amazing chance for you. Fantastic. But if they come to you and if you have that chance, it means that you are valuable enough and your content is great. Give yourself a chance. Stand your grounds, prepare a contract, prepare a rate card, speak to them very firmly. This is how I do business. You take it or leave it. Maybe they don't take it now, but they will take it later. So continue doing your content, continue working hard. And if 1 out of 10 don't value your content and don't want to work with you on a contract, leave it. They will come back.
Never diminish from your own value. Brands will try to do that. They'll try to make it look like you're not as valuable as you are in the market, but don't let them to get to your head.
But preparing a contract for an influencer could be expensive, right?
A little bit. It depends. The influencer could also do a barter arrangement with a lawyer. Who knows?
Good point. Yes, you can do that. One of the things that you mentioned is very important. Influencers will never know the accurate analytics of how successful their campaign went. They will never know if their work actually created sales or not. It's not from the page, because this is confidential information for the brand or the company. Maybe the PR agency will have access to the analytics, but they will not have access to the sales. how can the influencer protect themselves from being unpaid based on poor performance of a campaign?
That's a very good question. I think in the contract, you could mention that the fee is not contingent on a particular outcome, and it's not going to be dependent on any performance of the post. If the post reaches 100 views or 1,000,000 views, that's none of your concern. All you do as an influencer is that you deliver the service, and that's that, and you get paid for it in advance. Also, you can add a no guarantee clause, and that clause will specify that you don't guarantee any outcome based off the post or the service that you deliver. Most companies might not be happy with that, but what it genuinely what it implies is that as an influencer, you're not responsible for what the algorithm decides whether the post is doing well or not, which is fair.
Yeah, because I think it's really unfair for the influencer to carry the weight of the success of a campaign, because just reaching out to them and getting them into the campaign, his job is done. How can he know? Maybe the tags are not done well. Maybe the quality of the camera is not okay. Maybe the lighting, maybe there's so many elements. Maybe the posting time was done wrongly by the social media manager. The influencer has no control on that.
Yeah, maybe they didn't allocate the right advertising budget for the post.
Exactly, the media buying,
exactly.
or yes.
Or they didn't allocate the right demographic for the post. So companies will try to strong arm the influencer into thinking that they didn't do a good job in so many ways.
You see, we as lawyers are on your side. Of course, we will take your money for preparing that contract, but we're on your side. We understand how the game is played, and we understand how can we protect you.
Otherwise, we'll work for the brands because they have more money to spend on lawyers. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, yes. But we love you too. I mean, we have an influencer here, so he feels for you guys.
Hardly.
Yes. Let's steer a little bit away from the social media and from the influencers. And I think one of the things when we talk about the same word, influence, a lot of brands or a lot of companies rely a lot on reviews and their image online. And that's why every single commercial entity and maybe government entity even, they have social media accounts and they have a website and they have the digital presence. And one of the most controversial issues that happen is reviews. When you go to a restaurant and you leave a bad review for this restaurant on Google, or you trash them by a very bad post on Instagram story, or even record what happened live to try to show a bad image for a commercial entity in general. This influence sales directly, and this influence the image of the commercial entity, and it has legal implications.
I think you know that I did a video about this that went viral on Love in Dubai as well.
Yes.
I said if you want to post a negative Google review, then my suggestion is you travel outside the UAE, post all the negative reviews that you want, but never come back.
Yes.
And it's true because in this country, the threshold for a negative review turning into a crime has become very, very thin. So at any moment, if the review is on and the restaurant or whatever establishment finds that the review is criminally offensive, then they can easily register a complaint against you. The problem is not that there's something wrong with the review, but at any time they can open a criminal complaint. Now that criminal complaint could be that there's no merit to it, but what will generally happen is that you'll be traveling, or you'll have to, do some kind of government work, and then you'll find that there's a travel ban issued against you, and then you have to go to the police, and it's a headache. That's what I'm saying. Just save yourself the headache and just don't mention it. Don't mention it over Google. Just tell your friends about your negative experience, and
so be your own influencer in your own circle. Talk about the bad experience you had with this company on to your network. You don't have to take it online, because what goes online stays online forever.
Agreed.
I have a story to tell here. One of my friends, he was renting a car, from one of the very famous companies in the UAE. What he made is that he very politely wrote a review, and before taking it online, he went to Google ChatGPT, and he told ChatGPT, "This is my review. Please make sure it's super polite and it does not put me in any legal trouble." ChatGPT gave him a draft. He looked at it, he liked it, and he posted in Google Review. 3 days, and he got a legal notice.
Oh my God.
3 days.
Unbelievable.
A legal notice. The company is so used to bad reviews that they have a lawyer on retainer just to send legal notices to everybody. So we understand that also some companies misuse the power of the law and their right to open a claim against anybody for defamation, and they throw legal notices left and right, and it's up to the court. So what Ahmed said, you may be putting a very fair review, a very polite one, but at the same time, you're vulnerable to a legal case that might stay in court for 2-3 months. And during these 2-3 months, and you're
stuck.
blocked, you're stuck.
You're stuck.
Yeah. If it's worth it, go ahead.
Look, I get the whole sort of Western thinking over this, saying that there is no freedom of speech here. I mean, where is there's no more freedom of speech anywhere in the world, actually.
Yes.
But, my side of it is that as a business owner, it is quite unfair to put a negative review on an establishment that has spent so much money getting set up and running its operations here in this country. I mean, in restaurants here, like the average capital required for setting up a restaurant is like what, 5 million plus?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money to set up and operate an establishment here, just so that a random person had a negative, or their negative personal experience to it could potentially ruin the brand's reputation. It's a bit unfair in my experience.
And the digital image is very important, that this significant reliance on the digital media in general, and the Google reviews, for example, is one of the things that everybody look at. And if you have as a negative average on the Google reviews, that really stops your algorithm from showing your restaurant. So automatically reduce your profitability and people to find you. So your review can be a very polite one, but it can be a 1-star. And automatically, even the polite review will reduce the profitability of this business. So please take care, think twice before you do this negative legal review, not just because it might put you in trouble legally, because sometimes it's really unfair, because the effect of it can be much more worse on the business than your experience.
I do have an example to
please,
to share.
Yes, tell us.
Okay, so shortly after I posted the video, I had a couple that approached me. They came to the office, and they told me that they had a wedding recently. It was a great wedding. I forgot which hotel, but they recruited the sort of wedding photography company. And that company was supposed to be like really good. They came highly recommended, and they did such a horrible job, a really, really bad job. And so much so to the point that wedding photography company was holding the videos and the pictures of the wedding hostage unless and until they get paid. So during that time, where they were sort of negotiating the release of the footage, the couple posted a Google review on the companies and what their experience was like. And I read the review. It was very technical. I mean, they laid out from A to Z a historical, description of what happened from the day that they hired the company all the way to the end. And as a sort of just an average guy looking at this, I mean, wow, this was a genuine review from the heart. It was very emotionally traumatic because obviously it was a wedding, and right, and a lot of money was paid. But still, they were both stopped at the airport when they were traveling for their honeymoon.
My God.
And because of this Google review. Yeah.
You know, I do this a lot. I get so angry sometimes or so emotional with business. And I write a very, very bad email. I just don't press send. I put all my energy into that email. Tack, 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 tack. My keyboard suffers when I'm like, pum, 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 pum. And just I put it on a draft and I say 24 hours, I'll sleep, I wake up, and I will send this email. 99% of the times, I do not send that email.
That's the best thing you can do. One thing I learned many, many years ago is never send emails when you're angry.
Yeah. What goes online stays online forever. Please remember that. Let's talk a little bit about the freelancers, because a lot of them have small jobs, tiny, like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 dirham, and they don't get paid. But because the amount is too small, they don't think it is economically smart to go to a lawyer, because the lawyer will charge them the fees, and it might not happen, and they don't want to go with legal. But it end up that a freelancer can lose 100, 200,000 dirhams a year out of small jobs here and there. Is there a way to help these guys collect?
When it comes to freelance work, you have to understand the psychology of what it's like to work with these companies. You have companies that are willing to pay, but they said we'll delay it because it's a small amount for them, even though it's not a small amount for the freelancer. And then you have companies that are unwilling to pay because they feel like the job has not been done properly. We're focusing on the ones that are willing to pay, but they're not paying. The ones that are unwilling, that's a dispute.
Yeah,
it's a different matter. But those companies, you have to keep sending them reminders. I like to send something called legal reminder, not a legal notice. It's like, hey, we're acting on behalf of Ahmed Elnaggar. Just letting you know, he's got this payment outstanding. If it's already paid, all right, ignore this email. So we do it once or twice, and then we'll send the big notice afterwards, just like a real estate developer would if you failed on your your payment plans. That concept works. The reminders lets the company know that yes, that is an invoice that is outstanding in their books, and they will have to pay it eventually. Unfortunately, a lot of freelancers kind of fail in that aspect. They kind of omit the financial element of things, and they say, man, I don't want to act like I'm begging for this money and they're not paying. No, the reality is companies take their time with paying suppliers. Everybody, even lawyers, they take their time paying us as well. So we have to wait 30, 60, 90 days. But if it takes longer than this, then you definitely have to take a legal.
Yeah, and the legal reminders are actually a very nice way, because what we're saying is that the job and the file now is in the hands of the legal department, and we're following up. We're not taking legal action.
Yeah.
But we're ready.
Yeah. Whatever you do not send it to a debt collection agency.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's, wow. I think, the worst thing.
I don't know where this comes from. I've never seen this anywhere in the world. Have you seen this practice of debt collection agency?
Yeah.
They're not lawyers. Really?
In the US, it's a big deal. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm coming from a civil law.
But here, they're not really looked at favorably, because there's a lot of things that debt collectors cannot do in this country.
The practices here are is really bad.
Yeah.
The way they handle the communication and the way they chase is really not illegal.
Yeah. That's something interesting, by the way. A lot of clients, they want me to pick up the phone and call whatever company that's not paying them yes. and say, hey, listen, I'm Ahmed Odeh, and do you know who I am? And I need you to pay it if you don't pay. And I'm like, I'm not doing
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not. The one thing that I will not do is that. I used to do it before.
Right.
And it was just so cheap.
Yes.
And I just feel like, a hustler, some, from the streets.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I see one of the emails where I'm put in CC for absolutely no reason by one company that used to work with me for like 3-4 years ago. I'm not their lawyer anymore, but they just scare their suppliers or their customers with my email. So they say, my lawyer is in CC and this is my final notice to you to pay my fees and so on.
I don't mind that. That's okay.
It's cool, but it's like, dude, you haven't paid me for the last 3 years. Why do you put me there? Why do you scare people because you have my email ID? It's a joke.
Yeah.
But it's a good opener for me to give them a call and go for coffee and say, okay, now you use me as a boogeyman.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why not sign a retainer?
Imagine if the other party is your client.
Exactly. I mean, this is very funny, but yeah. I haven't had that experience with.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, I faced a similar case before with a lot of clients. Okay, so basically, I shoot campaign, and they use the video, and they post it in the social media account, and it went viral. And as per the marketing measurements, okay, it was a successful campaign, and the reach of the videos was everywhere. This was last June. Until now, I didn't get paid, and I did all the games. Okay, I created like a legal email. Okay, I don't want to involve any of my lawyer friends in this. Okay, I just created a legal email on my domain. Okay, and I put it on the CC. And
Good trick.
And I start sending to them, and this is the last warning. We will take a legal actions and so on. Nothing.
Do you have a contract with them?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
But they approved. We have written emails that they approved on the prices. They approved on the topics and the direction of the videos, and everything was cleared from their side.
Yeah.
Okay? And all of this is documented on their social media account. Okay.
They still use your materials.
Yes.
Do you want to take the case or I will take it?
It's okay. We can both take it. I don't mind.
Let's do that. Why not? And because having a contract makes it easier in court. Okay. However, with lawyers, litigators like Ahmed, they can build the contract and they can build the relationship before the court through the SMSs, the evidences that you talk about, and the emails. Yeah. So the relationship can be created in front of the court from all the evidences, and then the court will recognize it, and afterwards we start the claim. So having a contract saves a lot of time and a lot of work from our side, and a lot of money from your pocket, because we're going to charge you for sure. It's just that it is not impossible to take this money. It just needs a little bit of work. And afterwards, we start the claim. When we have the contract and everything is clear, and when you have your paperwork done, like an invoice and approvals, forms, and so on, it just put the documents together. We go to court, the court study the file, and they make their decision on it. The claim becomes easier, faster, and
you will win the case. That's a guarantee. It'll just be a little bit more complex because we have to go to the emails.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
But there is one more thing, Sharif, I will tell you, because this is very important, and you might consider it later on. When things are put in writing, when we have a contract, very clear terms and payments and KPIs and all of this, the people who might think, let's strong arm Sharif, will think twice. Yeah. So when there is a contract written, a very simple one-page contract. I'm talking that simple, okay? So just clear terms, KPIs, whoever on the other side that might think, what's going to happen if I don't pay this guy? They will think twice. So having a contract is not necessarily to go to court. It's basically to avoid to go to court. So,
you know how lawyers think? We think as if there's a judge looking over our shoulders at all times. That's how we think. When we go about life dealing with anybody, it's always like that. We think, oh, what's the judge going to say about what I just did right now, or the agreement that I signed? Because we always look at the end game scenario, thinking, okay, is this going to apply in the law? Am I going to get my rights or not? Which is sort of
exhausting.
It's very exhausting. It's hard, you know. It's like end game scenario all the time.
Yeah.
But that's the way we are taught to think. But then again, lawyers are like nuclear weapons. You hire them so that you don't need to use them.
You know, one of the things I learned, this I learned in very early because I used to work with my dad, and he was a litigation lawyer as well. But he had relationships that goes 10, 20, 30 years with some of his clients. And he was always going to his clients and saying, let's just avoid going to court. And he was a litigation lawyer. And I asked him one day, like, why are you doing this? I mean, you don't like money, or what's your problem? And he always think that it is much better to have a sustainable professional relationship with a client who have less problems in court than having a client who goes to court, win once and lose twice, and feel like my life is so up and down because of litigation, and lawyers don't help. They just are in the equation of this trouble as people who benefit. But the good lawyer is always the one who will protect you and keep you out of court.
I fully agree with that statement. As much as I like to go to court, I oftentimes tend to advise my clients not to go to court because I want to preserve the relationship. Even if I win the case for the client, it always leaves some type of trauma, because going to court is traumatic for people. Not necessarily companies, but if you're an individual, yes. And it's almost always scars the relationship between yourself and the lawyer, even if you win the case and get the money. And I prefer to have a sort of a smooth relationship with my clients. It doesn't always work out, but you do your best, right?
How do you deal with the stress that comes with this job? Because as a litigation lawyer, you always are in the middle of a conflict.
Yeah.
Of course, you're representing one party over the other, but it is a lot of stress because everybody comes to you with a very strong emotional balance.
So my dad told me something. He said, as long as there are people in this world, there are always going to be disputes, and the courts are always going to be full. And this is the reality that we're living in. I think I mentioned this to you in the beginning, like in our first podcast together. It's unavoidable. You will always have lawyers, and you'll have the courts, and people are going to have issues.
Yeah.
And this is some type of like understanding that I put it with the clients. I said, guys, it's normal. What you're doing right now might be new to you, but it's not new to me or to a lot of people. You have to start adjusting to it emotionally. And I'm sort of giving you the tools on how to adjust. I'm explaining to you the procedure and the cost. I don't want you to keep coming back and saying, oh my God, it's too expensive and it takes too long. And all of these sort of the usual complaints that people have when going to the court. I said, yeah, but it's like this everywhere in the world. You're not, even if you go to Singapore, it's going to take this long. Same. It's going to cost as much.
I think here in the UAE, we're quite on a very high level when it comes to tech and time and all of this. 100%. If you go to places like in Europe and so on, court takes years. Yeah. And
so to answer your question, I just explained to my clients that this is a natural occurrence of things in life, in business, anywhere. And the older that you get, the more problems, or the more successful that you become, the more problems that you get. It's normal. You get bigger enemies, bigger competitors. and you have to just get used to it and stop complaining over the fact that, oh, this being successful hurts, or being someone that's being targeted hurts. That's the life that you chose. That's what you wanted to attract for yourself.
Ahmed, is always amazing and so enjoyable to talk to you. I have a couple of quick questions before we wrap this up. A young lawyer who's starting their career and they feel like they want to do social media as well. What are your advices to them?
Do it. When you get on social media, you are the target of pretty much everybody that you're addressing your videos to, and you learn as you go along. So anything that you talk about, you're going to have to become an expert at it over time, because when you're addressing it over a video, you have to be right. The information that you deliver has to be pretty much perfect. And I would say, if you want to do that, if you're good behind the camera, by all means, do it. And there needs to be more lawyers on social media, I think.
What's next with you? What's next? I mean, I know you said that you're going to start this other page on Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So it's a relationship-based Instagram page. It's focusing on how to get involved in a long-term relationship in Dubai and how to stay in one. And I will add a bit of law to it because I have that credibility as a lawyer. So I'll talk a bit about marriage and divorce. And people have 1.5 million questions about, why they should get married in Dubai or get into a long-term relationship, because they equate a lot of the things that happen here with the US and the UK in terms of marriage and cohabitation. It's not the case. And finding the right partner here is also very tricky, as we've talked about before. So I'd love to get involved in this dynamic. And what's interesting is that today people move to Dubai and they want to stay here forever. They don't want to leave anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like they want to pack up in 3 years and say, all right, I'm done. No, this is the best city in the world. Nobody wants to leave anymore. So for the most part, you're going to have to find somebody that you'd like to live the rest of your life here. So I think the page is going to be very useful. I hope.
Please follow the page. We'll try to convince Ahmed to start the page very quickly so that we can put the link for you to follow. And thank you so much, Ahmed. It's always amazing and pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.